Prepare to step into a world where imagination knows no bounds as we present Legends, Loot, and Lore. Join your hosts, Andrew and Joe, the dice-rolling dynamic duo who will guide you every step of the way into the realm of Dungeons & Dragons. From crafting narratives to character creation, this podcast is your gateway to becoming the hero of your own story. Whether you're a new adventurer or a seasoned traveler seeking new insights, Legends, Loot, and Lore has something for everyone. After the episode, visit our website at www.legendslootandlore.com for even more resources and exclusive content. And if you're as passionate about this adventure as we are, help support our quest at legendslootandlore.supercast.com. Embark on this odyssey with us and let the echoes of ancient tales guide you toward a destiny filled with limitless possibilities. Roll for initiative, because your adventure begins now.
Welcome, travelers, to another fantastic episode of Legends, Loot, and Lore. Rejoining the podcast after a side quest of several months is Joe.
Hello, everybody out there in D&D land.
Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you. It's always good to come back.
Nice to have you back.
I know. It's been a long time. I've been missing this.
Get yourself a little closer to the microphone, Joe.
I've been missing this.
Have you?
Yes. I was, as everybody will remember, I left because I was helping coach some soccer. And, every Saturday I had a lot of fun. But this was always in the back of my mind. And I eagerly awaited every Monday for the new episodes and all the interviews that you did. I loved them all. And I hope you keep doing the interviews, too, and we can kind of fit them in there. Because I got to say, you're really good at them.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I had an audience of two, Jordy and Vizban. They were.
It's just since I've been back in the room, they have told me that they loved your interviews.
I'm sure they do. They love just sitting here listening and getting all the attention.
Yep.
So now that the party is back at full strength, we are going to talk today about. We're going to actually create a couple characters, and so we're going to walk everybody through the whole process. We're going to use D&D Beyond to create these characters and walk you through that process, so you can get a feel for what all the options are and what everything means, etc. And we're going to create both a kind of weapon, what I always call a weapon wielder. So like a barbarian or rogue, paladin, those types of guys that primarily fight with weapons, and then we'll do a spellcaster as well, warlock, sorcerer, wizard, something to that extent. So we're gonna pick those at random. So who knows what's gonna happen? It'll be a roll of the dice.
Aren't you forgetting a little something?
What?
We have to update them on the campaign.
Geez, what's been happening? I need an update on the campaign, but that's what we're going to talk about today. But yes, let's update everybody on the campaign. What has happened? What is?
So when last we spoke before my hiatus,
yes,
you guys were getting ready. You were investigating a dragon's lair in the Sea of Moving Ice, and you guys were finally making your way into the lair and trying to get to the dragon. More specifically, he was holding hostage somebody who had expertise that the council needed to fight the dragons.
Hang on 1 second, Joe.
Uh-oh.
Before you go into that. You need to go look out the window.
Oh no. I have a feeling I'm going to be seeing tieflings for life.
I don't know what you're going to say, but take a look.
Bards are mid. Joe who? Tieflings are superior. Are mid? Is that supposed to be like middle ground?
It's not a compliment.
Well, I've never heard of mid as a term, as a adjective before.
Yes. So our neighbor Fable, who is a D&D player as well, has
Taking obsession of getting back at me.
has taken offense to some of Joe's comments on the podcast about tieflings. So, and since Joe is more of a musical character, a bard to some extent, so our neighbor Fable has declared that bards are mid, which is again, it's kind of it's the
Is that basically saying bars are average?
bards are bards are
I don't mind that. I'll be honest with you. As long as I'm not like, whoa, that sucks, then I'm in pretty good shape as long as I'm in the average. I've always said I'm an average Joe. So
it's more like subpar. It's not a compliment. It's not meant to be a compliment. And then Joe Who, because I think that was Catherine's. That was Catherine's comment about.
I will not forget that, Catherine. Because
you've been absent for so long. So Joe Who is that barb, that barb.
Cutting words.
And what was the last one about tieflings?
Tieflings are superior.
Tieflings are superior. So
yeah.
Yes.
She took offense at me saying that the people, the races and individuals in game tend to look down on tieflings as dangerous. And when I was commenting on that, she either thought I was personally doing it that way, or she just decided it would be a good way to rib me, which is fine too, because it is funny every time. It's like tieflings. Catherine at Catherine's birthday party, they drew a picture of me. It was just a bunch of scribbles, and everybody said it captured my likeness quite well.
Yeah. So our neighbor has some strong words for Joe today.
I still think it's unfounded, but hey, how you doing over there, Fable?
So thank you. That was our.
That was our live interruption.
That was our live I got the text message from Fable that said, "Tell him to look out the window." So I had to relay the message.
So anyway, yes, you guys had been getting ready to go and face the dragon, and eventually, now I'm going to fast forward through a lot of stuff because a decent amount has happened. You guys did go and face the dragon. In only, I think it was 3 turns, like not even 3 complete turns, you took down a large adult dragon, which is nothing to sneeze at. We know they got to think about this. Remember, that's 18 seconds in real life.
Mm-hmm.
You guys took down a large adult dragon. So, that's pretty impressive. I need to start like mixing in like tougher guys for you. And I did recently.
You really do. Yeah. It's definitely gotten a little more difficult.
Well, the problem is like, they're supposed to be facing up against this big bad dragon. And when they take him out in 18 seconds, it's like, okay, no problem. I'll add more creatures. But then all of a sudden now we got 5 people playing. And then I have 6 creatures facing off against you. And the amount of time it takes for a turn to rotate, it's almost like 10 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes before somebody gets a chance to make their second action. And it just slows the game down.
What about just more difficult individual?
That's
enemies.
what I've been doing. I've been beefing up. So anyway, you guys made it back to town.
Yes.
I think you were going back to not Boulder's Gate, Waterdeep. You guys made it back to Waterdeep, and the council sent you on a mission to chase down one of the wearers of purple, who was one of the leaders of the dragon cult. This one had been disgraced, but they still thought this one would have more information for you. So you guys started off hunting them, and on your way to hunting them, you come out to 2 encounters so far. One of them was against 3 hill giants, which didn't do as much damage as I was hoping, but it took a good amount of time. And the other one was against this creature that was part specter, part ghost. It was I was actually quite proud of how well that one handled. I think I almost took out Steve with that guy.
I think you did.
And so it's like it's given me ideas of how to boost up. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I don't know if I'm not playing the enemies to their maximum capability, or you guys had a boost somehow. Well, first of all, you're playing with 5 people, and the adventure is supposed to be like 5 to 6. But I really don't think that that's really the factor. I think they made the adventure too easy.
Have you tried the encounter builder in D&D
not.
Beyond?
I have not, but I have noticed that they have their own map thing going now.
Yes.
That looks very interesting.
We played that in the campaign that I'm doing on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
We tried that a little bit, and it's really pretty interesting. You can import your own maps, but whatever source books you have that they have the maps for, you can bring those.
Oh, so
those
you
maps in.
You have the digital copy of it?
Yes, like Fandelver. Like I'll show you.
Well, so I actually
all the
experimented
Fandelver
with it.
books.
I took the map of Fandelver that I use using the tabletop that I use, and I put it in there, and I was like, wow, this is actually really neat.
Yeah.
It's obviously a prototype or an early version.
I think it's an alpha, they're calling it at this point.
Of what they want to do, because they want to make this a fully virtual tabletop experience with special effects, dice rolling, everything. So it's like, they're I mean, this is where they've been going since they announced 1D&D.
Right.
They're revamping all the rules, and now they're bringing this out. So it's going to change the entire dynamic of everything.
It certainly will, but I think it's super cool. I think the map feature is even in its infancy is a really spectacular addition for those that don't necessarily use a virtual tabletop program already.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep everything in D&D, you have access to all the monsters right there.
Yep.
And it brings everything in. If you've got the characters already, so it's
especially for new people or people who are looking to transition. Like for new people, it's like, look, I don't have to go buy a tabletop, a virtual tabletop, and then buy the component. You can buy it all here.
Correct.
So anyway, you guys had fought 2 separate encounters in the woods while searching for this guy, and you had just finished the last battle. We've been having a little trouble advancing on the storyline, so despite the fact that it's been about 2 months since he's gotten an update, we really haven't gotten that farther in the story. Far. But the good news is there's only... the storyline only has a few chapters left. It's just getting through those chapters.
Right. And we'll get there eventually.
Of course we will.
Absolutely.
So anyway, back to our character creation.
Yes, character creation. So we've in the intervening weeks since you were last year, we've talked a lot about character creation, character backstory. We've talked a lot about the theory behind creating characters and how they fit into stories and things like that. So now we'll actually go into the mechanics of building a character.
And I've noticed when I start building a character for myself personally, I start thinking about what the character is going to be, rogue, barbarian, whatever I end up creating. And then I start imagining, well, how would one come to this position? And then you come up to all the typical storylines, for a rogue. Well, he lost his parents at a young age and this and that and tragedy. Or, you're a cleric or a paladin. You were raised in a religious order, yada, yada, yada. And then, you take the typical storylines and then you cushion them. You tweak them to how you want to have your character represented in this particular case. And that's how I've always approached the backstory aspect. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I like about 5e, and I obviously won D&D when it comes out, the backstories that you can kind of pick up, the traits and everything, it gives you writing prompts. So you have a general idea. You go through on the traits, which all have roll tables, so like 6d6 or d8. Right. You can randomly do them, or you can purposely, pick the ones. And they're like writing prompts to build a story around.
Oh,
and
sure.
It's like beautiful that way.
Absolutely, yeah. They've done a lot to really help you kind of flesh out that.
I think
that part of the character.
I think one of the things that they're trying to do is they're making combat more effective and easy, but I think they want to try to enhance the role play of the aspect too, and that's this background stuff.
It's probably the part that I would think most people have the greatest amount of not difficulty with, but it's probably one of the the tougher parts for people is the role playing aspect, because it's getting into combat. You pick your weapon, you pick the person you're going to hit, that kind of thing. So I mean, it's kind of pretty standard. Pretty standard action in battle, but doing the role playing and really coming up with understanding who your character is and how they would interact with others is probably the more difficult part of it. So I think they're doing a much better job of helping guide newer people to fill that out.
And I think, it's not required that you be one way or the other way either, because when you look at our group literally has a span of everything that fits into it. Mm-hmm. Like Steve, Steve's great. He comes in, he rolls his dice, and he goes home. And when I force him to do role play, he does it, but he's not exactly like 100% keen on doing role play. Kat is very much into her role play. You are really big into Thornton. Frank is like kind of half in, half out on Antonio, and Bill is like totally all in on Toma. I mean, so it's like we got all different levels of how deep people are into their role play, and you don't have to be into the role play even if everybody else is.
Right. Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's you can be into it as deep into it as you want, or as little as you want. So that's the nice feature.
Steve also happens to be the person who figures out most of the puzzles in the party.
Thank goodness. He's brilliant when it comes to for a barbarian who loves to rage, who's just a monster when it comes to battles. He's got he's got an amazing brain for figuring out puzzles. So.
He doesn't love to rage. He forgets to rage at the time.
Well, he loves to rage. He doesn't remember to rage. There's a difference. You can love to rage and forget to rage.
Anyway,
but so let's talk about. Okay, so you're ready to make our first character.
Let's make our first character.
Okay,
so there's 12 classes.
Well, we don't even get to class first. We get to race first.
Oh, that's true.
So let's walk through this on a step-by-step basis. So we're going to do this in D&D Beyond. So you go to the characters section of D&D Beyond, and even on the free level, you can create at least a few characters. So we're going to go into select create a character, and when you go to create a character, they give you several options. There's the standard method for creating a character, which is what we're going to do, the step-by-step approach. They've got pre-made characters that are ready to play that you can do. Quick build, so you can choose a race and a class, and it'll help you create the first level character very quickly. Or the random is really, it just randomizes a character. You have the option to set some of the parameters like level, race, and class, but it'll randomize everything else for you. But for our purposes, we are going to use the standard step-by-step character building method. So we got to pick a character name first. So let's just use the...
Well, I say we hold off on the name just for a second because we can come back.
Because we don't know what kind of character it's going to be yet. So
and I find there is I think Andrew was about to say, in the character builder, there's a link to something called the fantasy name generator.
Yes.
Which is really a fantastic little tool. And if you end up picking a dwarf or an elf, you don't want to have an elf or a dwarf name for the opposite one.
God forbid.
I mean, you can if you really want to get creative and have a fun backstory. But in general, you tend to want to, try to match it up. And when you click on the fantasy name generator, you can pick so many different fantasy races, and it gives you suggestions.
Yes. So we'll pause on naming our character at this point. The other things on this page are the character preferences, like what source books material comes from. There's other partnered content they've got. Dice rolling. So you can enable or disable digital dice rolling for this character. So if you don't have your own dice yet, you can use those from D&D Beyond. Joe and I have our own opinions on the digital dice. In some campaigns I use it, some I don't. I prefer to use real dice because I'm a dice goblin, so I've got many of them. I love the feel of rolling dice. But if you have, and you can get dice super cheap, but if you don't have a set of dice of your own, you can.
It also makes it easier to play if you're trying to keep it on the more quiet. You're not rolling around, having dice fall on the floor, chasing it all over the place. This is also easier for that path.
Yes.
But I agree. I prefer the hands-on, throw it in. I haven't even have a dice tower. I roll my stuff down my little homemade dice tower. And I just love hearing the click, clack, 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 clack.
Yes. So Joe, why don't you talk about advancement type? So there's two ways to. So we're starting with a level 1 character. Your character levels up throughout an adventure, and there are two ways of doing this.
So you have the milestone and you have experience points. The experience points is the ones that everybody's familiar with. If you've ever played an RPG online or on a console game, you get experience points every time you kill a monster or you achieve a certain aspect or mission in the game. And then once you hit that point of experience points that for the next level, you level up. In the handbook, in the basic rules and in the player's handbook, it tells you how many experience points you need to get to each level. Most, if not all, pre-made adventures will tell you how many experience points to achieve to award people for certain achievements. But the monster manual, which is easily searched anywhere on the internet, will tell you how many experience points for killing each creature. If you have 10 creatures and they're each worth 10 experience points, the party gets 100 experience points each. No, divided between them because they work together to kill everything, so they get 100. So there's 5 people. You kill 10 monsters at 10 experience points apiece. 100 experience points divided by 5 people, 20 experience points per person. And as you level up when you hit those experience points levels. Milestone is so much easier. It's a little less personal. It's a little less involved. And I feel that it does take a certain amount away from the game. But now you don't have to have somebody tallying up experience points on the side of their page. Milestone is, hey, you finished this chapter, you level up. You finished this quest, you level up. And adventures, especially the D&D core adventures like Mines of Endelver, Tomb of Annihilation, and the Mad Wizard, they all have points where it's like, okay, this is a milestone, this is a milestone. If you're using milestone, now is when you tell your characters to level up. Though also you can just fall back on the experience points generated by each monster, but the milestone is easier. It's a set point and you don't have to really think about it. One of the great things about using experience points though is, let's say Bill can't make the game on Monday and everybody else levels up. Well, Bill's not leveled up yet. So you get more natural leveling in the party where everybody's not at the exact same point at all the times.
Right. For me, I have my own opinions about this. First of all,
please do share them.
I will. Let me make this point first of all. Usually, it's going to be the DM that determines whether or not you're using milestone or XP. So it's not something you necessarily have to decide. So if you're creating this character for a particular campaign, ask your DM how they're doing leveling up in their campaign. Is it milestone or XP? So that's one thing to keep in mind when you see this option. For me, I think milestone is lends itself better to a role playing game than XP. XP is great if you're doing a lot of dungeon diving, killing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And doing that, so if you're into a lot of action and things like that, XP is great, because I think when you drive your characters with XP, they tend to want to kill everything.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, I'm going to kill stuff to get more XP. So I think it could possibly take away from the role playing aspects of the game, as opposed to milestone, where you're not necessarily concentrated on do I need to clear the level kind of thing.
We came across that in the campaign where, you know, you guys had killed the dragon, but there were still extra points inside his lair that you guys hadn't explored. And the debate was raging. Well, we don't have time. We're not going to be able to get a long rest in. That's just not logically feasible. We can probably take a short rest, but, you know, there's still other areas of this place to explore. Should we explore or should we just get out of here now? And the general consensus went out to just get out.
Right.
Had it been an XP game, the people might have been more incentivized to go and clear the whole dungeon.
Correct.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. So that's my opinion on the matter.
I haven't really played an adventure, a campaign in person. We've done one shots once or twice in person, but I've never done like a full campaign. I would think that when playing in person, playing with experience points would be better because you're sitting there, you're around the table. It's easier to, hey, wait, how many experience points did we get? When you're online, it's very hard to have that cross conversation with each other without, you know, talking over the DM or something like that. So I think the idea of playing experience points would theoretically work out a lot better in person also than an online campaign.
Yeah, it depends. Like if you've got a campaign where, like the one campaign that I'm in, people kind of come in and come out of depending on their availability. So XP for that is good because not everyone is involved in every battle. So like you said, it lends yourself more to more realistic that some people are at a higher level because they've done more. So it all just depends. Like I said, that's why the DM kind of sets that from the beginning, based on what the campaign is going to kind of look like. What about the next thing? Hit point type.
So
fixed or rolled? What's your opinion?
I'm all about the rolled.
Yeah.
This comes back to the exact same point here. When you have a fixed hit point, so each class, like we talked about, has a certain hit dice, a D8, a D6, whatever it is. And that is your basis for how you level up your hit points. What they do is they take the average of the dice, of that die roll that you would roll, and that would be your fixed HP increase every time you leveled up. So on a D8, I think it's +5.
Uh-huh.
So when you roll, so every time you level up, you get your 5 plus your Constitution modifier every level. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. But I feel like it's more original, more individual when I actually roll that D8. I have a chance of hitting a 1. I have a chance of hitting an 8. And it creates suspense for the person and, you know, interesting characters. In my Thursday night game, I am a level 9 fighter.
Uh-huh.
I have like 87 hit points. I should be easily in the hundreds.
Yeah.
I have rolled crap. And the funny thing is, there have been times where I rolled, like, I was like, oh, I leveled up and I rolled digitally. And I was like, oh, let me just roll this digitally so I don't have to pull my dice out. And I rolled a 1. I was like, you know what? I really should do it the way I've always done it. I should really roll with the real dice because I didn't want the 1. Pulled out the real dice. I rolled the 1 again, and I'm like, nah, I'm meant to only get a 1.
It was meant to be.
I had a couple of instances, not that I did both, but I had a couple instances where I got 1s and 2s, so I just did not level up. I did not. My fighter is still like charging into the middle of combat, and it's like at the end of every combat, everybody's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I still have like half my health hit points." So everybody thinks I got like 50 or 60, and I'm like, "No, I got like 38."
That's rough. That's rough.
So that's the differences. Again, yeah. I prefer the rolled because it's more personality. It makes it more uneven, and when it's uneven, it seems more natural.
You leave it up more to chance than anything else. So it's a good point. So you can do it either way. It really just, a lot of that's just personal. That one's more personal preference than anything else. Other things on the main screen are, they talk about, there's prerequisites on feats, multi-class requirements, things like that. We're not going to dive. I don't think we want to dive too much into all this
because we're still making level 1 character.
This is a level 1 character.
You're not going to get a feat unless you get a human, and you're not going to get a multi-class because we're level 1. We'll deal with that at some point at a later cast.
Yes. And the other things, encumbrance, we're not, again, we're going to make this, I want to make this as simple as possible.
So we're going to remove encumbrance.
I would remove it.
Right. So basically, encumbrance is the basic concept is how heavy, how much equipment you can carry before your speed is actually reduced. The vast majority, I think, of people play no encumbrance, which means you can carry 1,000 pounds and nobody's going to care about it. And your strength is based your capability of carrying things. And I forget the exact math, but it's based upon your strength skill. I think it's your strength times 5. Or it might be 20. I don't remember, but you multiply it out, and that's how much weight you can carry. But the interesting thing about this is that when you go into a place like a dragon's den and you get all that coin actually encumbers most people when you play encumbrance. It becomes too heavy to carry all of that coin out.
That's the other option here. You can ignore coin weight on the screen, so you can ignore the coin weight.
So and it's interesting because some people just they refuse to throw away. Like, oh, I got a new sword. Let me keep the old one just in case I want to use it for something else. Oh, I got a new shield. Let me keep the old one. Some people just refuse to throw that stuff away. Well, if you do encumbrance, well, now they went from 30 feet to 20 feet.
Well, I ran into this playing Baldur's Gate 3. My character in Baldur's Gate 3, I was like, I'm picking up crap everywhere. Like every room I go into, it's like, pick this up, sure. Pick that up, sure. Like I picked up like a dead body, and it was like you're slow now. I'm like, you've got too much stuff. I'm like, oh darn. So I had to start like dropping stuff. I had to drop things.
Well, and that's the other thing. In a video game, people will pick up literally everything, take it to the store and sell it because even if it's only 1 gold, hey, that's 1 more gold, whatever. It tallies up. And it's like, they're going to force you. I like that.
Well, I could bring it back to the camp and just dump it back at camp. But like I was in the middle of a room and it was like, all of a sudden I was like, you're like, you've got too much stuff. I'm like, oh, darn. But anyway, so that's everything. Well, what's that on the character preference?
So the ability score modifier, and so
this is just the display.
Yeah, but we didn't mention it.
Okay,
it's important.
No, it's not.
Some people argue this.
Okay,
so you can put the So on the character sheet, there's a big box, and right beneath it, there's a little oval, and one of them gets your actual ability score. The other one gets the modifying number, the number that you add to your attack rolls, and so on and so forth. So you can put the modifier on top, which is the bigger number, or you can put the score on top, and then put the modifier on the bottom. Most people, I think, go with the modifier on the top because that's the number that's most important. However, some people firmly believe that it should be the score on the top and the modifier on the small one. It's just another option. I'm sorry.
Again, personal preference.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter for creating a first level character. Well, you can always change it later.
This entire experience is based upon personal preference.
Yes. So let's go on to, and then there's character privacy. So you can, if you don't want to share the character with anyone else, you don't have to, or you can keep it specific to a campaign. But we're gonna leave this character public, and we'll probably share the link on put it on the Discord server or something, or share it in the notes.
The idea of keeping it private is if you don't want to share it with anybody else, you can actually print out the full character sheet when you're ready, and you can print out everything.
Now for some of the fun stuff.
Hold on, we need a D100 now to pick a race.
I think I need more than a D100.
So, if you include all the variants, it's probably close to 200 or 300.
My goodness.
Let's filter the sources here. Let's trim out some of the more extraneous ones.
Well, like if you go to like just the player's handbook,
well, that's 8, right?
You've got just the basics. So we've been basing everything off the
9. Okay.
So we've been basing everything off of the basic rules.
Well, change it to the basic rules.
So we say basic rules, which I think is then
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's still 9.
There's 9. So
do you want to do a D10 and then ignore number 10, re-roll 10?
I think that works.
All right. So for the audience, we are looking at Dragonborn, Dwarf, Elf, Half-Elf, Half-Orc, Halfling, Human, Rock Gnome, or Tiefling. In that order, 1 through 9, and Andrew's got the die. If he rolls a 10, we will just re-roll it. Now drop it from a high distance so they hear it thud.
Oh, these are the solid copper ones. You'll hear it thud no matter what.
Here we go. Oh yeah, I heard that.
That is 8.
That would be the Rock Gnome. I would not have chosen that myself. I would not have picked the Rock Gnome. I never would have thought to do that. That's cool.
So we're going with a gnome.
Absolutely, the Rock Gnome specifically, because this is the basic rules.
Yes. So we'll read a little bit of the basic description here. So a gnome's energy and enthusiasm for living shines through every inch of his or her tiny body. As a rock gnome, you have a natural inventiveness and hardiness beyond that of other gnomes. Most gnomes in the worlds of D&D are rock gnomes, including the tinker gnomes of the Dragonlance setting. And some of the traits that rock gnomes have are dark vision, what is known as gnome cunning. And gnome cunning means you've got advantage on all intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws against magic.
Which is not insignificant.
Artificer's lore. Whenever you make an intelligence, a history check related to magic items, alchemical objects, or technological devices, you can add twice your proficiency bonus instead of any proficiency bonus you normally apply. So many different things. And what's that with the tinker? Oh my goodness.
You basically get artificer's tools, and you then can use them with 10 gold worth of materials and money to make a little clockwork device. It only works for about 24 hours unless you spend an hour a day trying to keep fixing it. You can also create a fire starter or a little music box, which, it adds flair and possibly some type of usefulness. I mean, hey, look, this is D&D. You can use anything for anything. At this point, you can use your fire starter and try to convince somebody it's magic.
Well, what's nice is, here's the thing. To have a fire starter, as it says, you can use it to light a candle, torch, or campfire. So if you don't have any spellcasters that can create fire, this is a quick, easy way to start a fire. So.
And you can also use it in the idea like, hey, I want to, use my fire starter to light the curtains on fire so that we burn down the mansion or something like that. Again, it's a little more flavor than actual function because, yes, everybody, most adventurers end up with a little bit of a flint capabilities to make it.
And this lasts for 24 hours.
Which is always useful.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
So this is going to be kind of fun, I think.
I've never played I've never played a gnome before.
Neither have I.
No, so this will.
So we also haven't discussed which one of us is going to play the magical character and which one of us is going to play the melee character.
I think we're going to have to flip for that.
Ah, okay.
We'll see who plays what.
So here's just another explanation. So the next page is more about it brings a detail of all the things that we just talked about.
Yes.
It gives you a little drop down so you can read those things.
Yes, indeed. So we've got all of our details on all of our racial traits or species traits, depending on what version of D&D we're talking about. So we're going to pick our rock gnome, and we're going to go on to the next one, which is choosing a class. So we've got 12 classes here, I believe, right, Joe?
Well, actually 13 because they added artificer here.
Okay.
So the core rule book, the player's handbook only has 12. The artificer isn't included.
Right.
And I think we should do that. We should just pull out the artificer and just do the D12. So for everybody listening at home, it's barbarian, bard, cleric, druid, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. And one of the things is that, even if we pick something that is a magical class, that doesn't base upon wisdom, which this guy has bonuses to wisdom and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. Even if we make him a melee character, you can make anything. You can be anything you want. A strong melee character that has a little bit of magic or a very weak melee, it doesn't matter. So we're not necessarily looking to make what's called min-max, maximize all the strengths and minimize his weaknesses. We're looking to just have some fun. That's the randomness. That's
right. That's why we're playing at random. Now remember, we've covered all the basic races and all the basic classes in previous episodes of the podcast. So if you want a little bit of a deeper dive, we're not going to go into each of them individually here, but you can check out earlier episodes and listen to some more of the information about these different classes. So I'm going to roll my special D12, my Fable D12.
Oh, from Fable?
From Fable.
Is it just a D12 or is it a whole set?
It's just a D12.
She just get okay.
Just a special D12. And so we're ignoring Artificer and starting Barbarian to Wizard, okay? And we're hoping for a fight, like a...
Well, it really doesn't matter.
Well, we could go either way on this
matter.
one,
Like
and
this is part of the point that
either way,
we're
going to go either
anything.
way.
Yeah.
So let's see what class this character is going to be. That'll be a 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fighter? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Monk. A monk rock gnome.
Nice.
That's
This will be
cool.
This will be interesting.
You know, he's got his training punching the walls in the Underdark.
Right. Oh, this will be cool.
Nice.
So monk is more of a fighting
melee fighter character. While they do have special abilities because of the key, they're definitely not a magical character.
Yeah. So this is a martial artist. Not necessarily lots of weapons. Not really like a great axe or anything like that. More hand to hand combat, but like a quarterstaff or something like that. So that's what we're gonna do. So we are selecting monk.
So we're going to do the same process when we make the next character, which is going to be magical, and we're just going to keep rolling until we come up with a more traditional magical one.
So some of the first level abilities that a monk will have. So they describe the monk as the master of martial arts, harnessing the power of the body in pursuit of physical and spiritual perfection. The hit die is a D8, and the primary abilities are going to be dexterity and wisdom for...
Which is also interesting because when we were looking at the Rock Gnome, he was kind of like, he looked like he was more of an intelligence character than anything else. So it kind of like balances out the concepts. Yeah.
And so some of the things at first level for a monk are the unarmored defense. So when you're wearing no armor, not having a shield, your AC, your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier and your wisdom modifier. So again, when we start rolling out the ability scores, we want to make sure that we are paying closer attention to dexterity and wisdom to help beef up the armor class for this one. You want to talk about martial arts?
So at first level, you get martial arts, mastery of combat with unarmed, and monk weapons. Those are short sword, the staff. Depending on how creative, there's nunchucks that you can find to use in the game. But you're really not doing anything that's heavy or that has a dual wielding, a two-handed usage. You gain benefits. So you're using your dexterity instead of your strength when you're using these weapons. Sometimes it's a strength modifier, but no, as a monk, martial arts, you're kind of more of a dexterous creature. Now, also, most characters, if they try to do melee damage with a fist, if I'm trying to punch you, that is just straight up, whatever your strength score is, that's what you do damage as. That's it. Whatever your strength modifier is, that's how much damage you can do. In a monk's case, you can roll a D4 instead of that, whatever that is. And as you level up as the monk, it moves to a D6, and then I believe it tops out at a D8.
I don't recall. I'd have to look at that.
But this allows you to do more damage with your hands, which counteracts the idea that you're not using a lot of weapons typically. And then the last thing is you can make an unarmed strike on your turn by using a bonus action. So if you do have a short sword, or if you're just using strictly your fists, you can actually make 2 attacks. It does take your bonus action. He's holding his little nunchucks now.
My pillow fighting nunchucks. Shout out to Super Socks Shop.
Oh, they sent you that?
No, they didn't send it to me. We bought this at New York Comic Con.
Nice.
But Super Sock Shop is phenomenal. They make all sorts. I have that sword, the sword up there.
Yeah.
They make all sorts of
Nice.
pillow fighting weapons. But they also made she also makes Christmas stockings.
Oh, nice.
So all the stockings we have for the cats
very cool.
are from her shop. Amazing stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, I bought the orange nunchucks at the last con.
So the idea is that you can use your bonus action to do an additional attack. So now you're basically, as long as you have your bonus action available, you're guaranteed 2 attacks, which is the modifier. The more attacks you get, the more damage you can do.
Yes.
Which is also something that offsets somebody who's like a fighter who has a D10 on a sword. So it balances.
Yeah. So it all balances itself out, which is nice. Because you're not going to be a huge weapon wielder as far as that's concerned.
Again, that's mostly a creativity, personal choice if you want to or not.
Interesting. Okay. See, this I want to use. I'd love to use the nunchucks as a monk.
Next month you should do that.
And maybe I will. All right. So we're going to confirm that. So we have our monk. We have our Rock Gnome monk.
And to go back, we chose hit points to be based upon the roll. However, if you remember back to our episodes where we talk about characters in general, where we kind of hit on all the high points.
Did I do that?
Yeah, we did roll.
No, I said fixed.
Oh. Why did we not change it?
I didn't change it.
Oh, you didn't change it. Okay. So anyway,
we now have chosen.
We're now doing. But and the funny thing is, it wouldn't have actually come up until we got to the second level, because at first level, when you create your character, your hit points is automatically your total hit dice, which for the monk is a D8.
Yes.
And then we haven't gotten there yet. So right now our our hit points are 8. Our Constitution modifier will then be added into that, if we have any, will be added into that when we get there.
Right.
But so right now we have a grand total of 8 hit points.
Ooh.
And then at first level, we get to pick some proficiencies.
Yes.
So we are not proficient at any armor. So if we wear any type of armor, we then become, I think, encumbered. It just slows us down, I think, if we do that.
Right.
Weapons are simple weapons like short swords and things like that. A club, maybe even, if you really wanted to. Tools. We get to pick a tool, artisan's tools or a musical instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have automatically built in a saving throw against strength and dexterity. So if something is like we need a saving throw to see how long we can hold this or how quickly we can kind of move around something, we have proficiency in that. And a quick reminder, a proficiency is a number that is given based upon your level. As you level up, I think it's every 4 or 5 levels, your proficiency bonus goes up. And I believe everybody starts off with a 2. So that proficiency bonus means, you're rolling for strength. You are proficient at strength and dexterity because monks have to be, tough and they have to be dexterous. And then from skills, we get to pick from acrobatics, athletics, history, insight, religion, and stealth. So we have to pick between the tools and the skills. So we're going to start with the skills.
Yeah. So we get to choose 2 skills. So we get to choose from those skills. We get to choose 2 of them. So we got 1, 2, 3. Should we randomly roll these since there's 6 skills? Should we randomly roll?
I think we should.
Why not?
Unless there's something that says that we should really just sit down and have a conversation about it, I think we should definitely go with the dice, just because that's the whole point of this.
Like for me, so if I were picking this character myself and not randomizing it, being a gnome and being a monk, I would probably pick stealth as one of my skills.
What would be your other one?
That's a good question. I would say probably either acrobatics or athletics for a monk.
See, now I would have gone. So in general, my concepts of a monk is not stealthy. Not that that you're wrong, but I don't think that way. My thing is I'm going to double down on acrobatics and athletics.
Okay.
That's how I would have approached it. However, I was looking at history because he is a gnome and he does like the history of certain things. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking of that as well. So,
Maybe.
But let's roll 2d6 and figure this out.
Let's roll 2d6 and see what happens.
All right.
I'll pick this one. Pick my metal d6s here. Well, you're in luck. This is actually perfect for you. 1 and 3, which would be acrobatics and history. So Joe wins.
I don't like that. I mean, I like that I win. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. I would like
That was great. That was perfect.
I'd like to thank the heavy dice for rolling in my favor.
That's right.
But now
May the
it's like,
dice be ever in your favor.
yeah, but now it's going to be like, okay, if Joe wins, now it's like a competition. Now I'm going to have to lose something.
Not at all.
I have to give in to Andrew.
No.
Oh,
Now-
wow. How many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There's more?
Oh, there's there.
Oh, my goodness.
But I don't think all of these are.
Well, these are all choices. So,
But I don't think these are all basic rule choices.
Oh, that's a good point.
So I would probably.
Well, let's start.
I would do one of the basic ones.
Well, let's start with the difference between: do we want to pick a musical instrument for him, or do we want to pick an artisan's tool for him as a monk? We can roll an odds or an even, or we can pick it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what would be? And there's so many choices here.
Well, no, so take a step back. Just
What about wood carvers' tools?
I'm good with that. I could see that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right. Okay, so we're gonna.
Because it even kind of fits in with the gnome. Not
That's what
really
I'm-
the rock gnome, but the gnome. I
Not
like
necessarily
this.
a rock
Yeah,
gnome,
yeah.
but I mean
like
that wouldn't be Smith's tools. That would be
It doesn't even say anything about stone tools. I'm
Mason's
surprised.
tools. Mason's tools
You want
would
to go
be
with Masons? Or do you want to? I'm good with sticking with the wood.
Let's go wood carvers'
Go with
tools.
wood
Okay,
carvers.
let's go
I
wood
do
carvers'
like
tools.
that. I do like that.
I like that. I like that story for this guy.
Yeah. Maybe this is what happened. See, now this is what I'm
Or
talking
girl.
about.
I don't know.
This is what I'm talking about when I was talking about how you start making your character and your thing. Maybe what happened was he was a rock gnome, and for some reason, or he or she, and for some reason as a child, they developed an interest in woodworking instead, and they were banished or ostracized, and they went out into the world and they found somebody who would teach them how to carve the wood. But they were a monk, so it kind of came hand in hand. This is how you create your backstory. This is how you start brainstorming things. Now, granted, I have a lot of time and experience going into this, trying to make backstories, but this is what you do. Yeah, wood carver's tools. Well, how does that fit in with somebody who's a rock gnome?
Yeah, but I could see, like I go always back to my character, my daredevil monk character. I could see being a wood carver, like carving your own quarterstaff and like making your own weapons.
Yeah,
like carving your own weapons out of wood would be like super cool.
Maybe that's what it was. He found somebody who would help him with the woodworking, but that person was specifically the monk who made the weapons for all the monks.
Right,
And
so
stuff.
like something like that would be really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're building the backstory as we move along here. We already talked about unarmored defense
And the martial arts.
So we know all about that. So obviously there'll be other things available at higher levels, but we're keeping this level 1, and let's go on to
So before we get into the abilities, I want to go back to the home.
Yes.
Because now that we know that we have a rock gnome and we know that he's going to be some type of monk, I think it's time we try to pick a name.
Let's go back to name picking. So let's go back to they already give some Bimble Bumble. Zanros Bimble Bumble.
I was just looking at that one. I kind of like it. I done.
Well, hang on. So let's go to Fantasy Name Generator and let's see.
So now we're on their website, which is very, very simple to understand for the most part. So then you got to go up on the top to fantasy and folklore in this particular case.
Yeah.
And then you look for one of the races. So we're looking for gnome or rock gnome specifically.
Gnome names.
Is there a rock over there?
I don't know if there's rock.
Nope, there is not rock gnome. So we'll go gnome names.
Gnome names.
Gnome names. So they give you a list, I think, of like 10. So we got Denjes, Gedert, Midar, Hunginart.
Well, we have to figure out is our character male or female?
Well, leave it as neutral.
Odds male, evens female.
Done.
That's a 2, so
Female.
Female it is.
So we click on the female names.
Okay.
Herbap, Fen. I still like the other name. Fensnuth.
Yeah, I don't like any of these.
No. A guy, Glyphlawa, kind of.
Fluffadlep. I can't even pronounce some of these.
Underbup.
All right, let's see. I think so. Zanros, Bumble Bumble. I just love
I love
Bemble
that.
Bumble.
Yeah.
Bemble Bumble is a great last name.
I like it.
Okay, so Xanros Bemble Bumble is our Rock Gnome monk.
All right, so now we can go back to the abilities.
Let's go to abilities. So we've determined race, we've determined class. Now let's go to abilities. So when you get to the ability score, you've got 3 options. So let's talk about each of these. There's what is known as standard array, or your rolled ability scores, or there's what you can do called point buying. So let's walk through each of these. So let's walk through standard array first. And Joe, let's lay out what that is.
Standard array is set up by the creators of Dungeons and Dragons, the 5th edition, where they give you 6 numbers for your stats. You remember anything around a 10 is average. Anything above a 10 is above average. Anything below a 10 is below average. So they give you a 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and an 8. And the basic idea is, look, you don't want to spend all your time rolling and then trying to decide. Here, use these 6 numbers and put them into where you need to. Now, you remember when we were going through the basic rules, they said, hey, on this class, you need to put, we recommend these 2. And then on this class, we recommend these 2. So you'd put your 14 and your 15 into the top 2 recommended stats. And then you just kind of disseminate the rest of them and putting your 8 in what's called a dump stat, meaning like that's all I had left. I just dumped my lowest points into that one.
Right.
So this one's easy so that you can just kind of do it. It does allow for flaws in characters, which with that 8 and that 10, it makes it so that you're not really a superhuman. There's possibilities, because an 8 is actually a -2.
Right.
So it's a -2 modifier to whatever you put it into, which is pretty drastic in certain cases.
Yeah, but remember, you can also offset that. So let's remember. So for example, the gnome gets a racial bonus of a +2 to intelligence and a +1 to constitution. So if you wanted to offset the 8, you could put that into intelligence at the +2, and you're back to 10. So you're back to 0. You're back to 0
for a modifier.
Right. So there are ways to offset them, but so that's the first method, the standard array. We're gonna skip by manual and rolled, and let's talk about point buy.
See, I like the idea of point buy.
Do you?
Kat has done this. I haven't done this yet.
Me neither.
I like the idea in general. So the basic concept is, in Constitution, in the point buy, they give you 27 points. Every strength, every ability starts out as a base of 8, and then you add your 27 across the 6 of them. So if you do the math kind of quickly, you basically can add 4 to most of them, and I think it's 5 to 2 of them,
right?
And you balance out, and you're done. So now that's kind of interesting, because you now have a line that shows all 8s, and beneath it is a quick another line that shows you what your current total will be for that one. So like Andrew said, intelligence is a +2. So intelligence reads 8 with a total of 10. So you can take these points and adjust them as ever you want. You can literally take 27 points, put them all into strength, and max yourself out to 20. And now you're down to 15 points against the rest of your stats.
Right.
So you can literally put everything else at 3 at that point, and you will end up with approximately, an 11 on everything except for your 1 stat that you maxed out. So this allows a lot of individual creation,
right?
A lot of individual. I want to minimize my strength.
Take strategy too,
right? And I want to minimize my strengths, maximize my weak. I want to maximize my strengths, minimize my weaknesses, and just balance out everything I want. And like you said, it takes strategy, because you need to know. Well, I don't want to be sucking at this, but
right.
I need to balance it out.
Right. So those are the 2 alternative methods. We're going to, as we're doing everything with these characters, we are going the randomized route of, we're going to manually roll out all of these stats. So we're going to roll six ability scores, and then we're going to assign them to the 6 different abilities and see what happens.
Let's do it.
May the odds be ever in our favor.
The dice. Ooh.
Oh, 18. Nice start.
So what happens here is there are several ways. Before we get any further, there are several ways to roll up your stats.
Yes.
One of the most common ways is you take 3 dice and you roll them and you use that number no matter what. One of the ways in order to make your character a little bit stronger is you roll 4 dice and you just take the top 3. Now we're using D&D Beyond to roll for us, and Andrew pushed the button and we got 3 6s and a 5. So the 5 gets discarded and that gives us the 18, which is massive for a level 1 character.
That's as high as you can go. I mean,
You can't go any higher as a level 1 character. So, but except if we took that and dumped that into intelligence to make it a 20, which we have to see what everything else rolls out as.
let's see. Okay, so that's our first one. Let's see how the rest of these go.
I'm gonna get an 8. 13.
13, all right.
So remember again now, 10 is an average person. Anything above a 10 is better than average, and a 13 is actually on the upper side of where an average comes out at 12, 13.
Yeah.
When you start point buying and you start assigning things. So that's pretty good.
All right. Oh,
There's an 11.
there's an 11.
Hey, we're going to be completely average on something.
Yep.
Oh, there's another 13.
Okay, another 13. All right.
Ooh.
Another 13.
We're coming out slightly powerful.
Oh,
Ooh,
and
there's an 8. There's
There's
the 8. We're gonna be stupid at something.
Exactly. All right. So
We
our
have to assign them.
so we've got six scores now: 18, 13, 13, 13, 11, and 8. So we're it's pretty evenly.
It's pretty even because we got
That's
one
a pretty
super
decent
one.
spread.
We got one super one. We got one that's not so good.
Yeah.
We got one that's a little low, and the other 3 are kind of like middle of the road. Like if you got a 15 if you got a 15 in your dice rolling, that's slightly above the average of what you would get from rolling 3 or 4 dice. So ending out with 13s is actually pretty good. So as a monk, we want to definitely be looking to put something good in dexterity.
Yes.
And we want to definitely, what's the modifier for key? I don't remember. Key is 2nd level when you start getting to use your key points, but I forget what the modifier is. Is that wisdom?
I don't recall. We can roll back and plus your wisdom.
It's a wisdom modifier.
The key save DC is your wisdom modifier.
So key is the ability you get at 2nd level. It's not magical, but it's similar in that sense.
But the key points that you get are based on just whatever level you're at. So there's no
we're looking at this
there.
and we're saying, okay, so wisdom is the other.
Dexterity and wisdom. Dexterity and wisdom are the 2.
Are the base ones that are recommended by the adventure by the
I'd
guide.
probably say dexterity should be the 18.
Only because we don't have any other bonuses already built into it. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
So 18 is going to round out to a +4 on your modifier.
Right.
Which is going to be huge for us. Actually, we should also look into putting something big into wisdom because our armor is going to be based upon our strength, our dexterity, and our wisdom as well. So we should probably look to putting one of the 13s into our wisdom.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I would say wisdom gets a 13.
Absolutely.
I'd say constitution, especially because we have the +1 in constitution.
Yeah.
Give that a 13 as well, because that'll put it up to a 14.
Which will give us a +3 there.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna give constitution a
No,
13.
I guess that's a +2. I can't remember off the top of my head. So
now we have another 13, our 11 and 8.
So what's the other modifier? So our intelligence has a racial bonus of a +2. So our question here is, what do we want to do? Do we want to dump the 8 into the intelligence and make it average?
That's what I would do.
See, that's what, okay. So I would actually want to be bumping the 8, one of the 13s, put the last 13 into intelligence to bump up the intelligence, because the guy is a rock gnome. He's supposed to have a decent, but that's just me. So hold on a second. So what do we got? We got 3 numbers left. We got a 13.
We've got strength, intelligence, and charisma are our three ability scores left. and we have an 11, a 13, and an 8. So I would say maybe what if we put intelligence at the 11, the strength at the 13, and charisma at an 8?
Yeah, he just won't be very good at talking to people. I'm liking that.
I think that's fine. He's a
or if you want,
socially awkward.
Or if you want, we can assign numbers 1, 2, 3 and roll a 6-sided dice.
I don't know. Let's
do this.
So
do what you said. Yeah.
Okay. So
strength for the 11.
I thought you said strength for the
13.
Strength for the 13. We're going to give intelligence the 11 because it's got a +2 racial bonus.
Yep.
So I'll automatically put it up to 13.
Yep.
And then charisma, we'll get the 8. So we're going to do, as a review, dexterity, because remember, dexterity and wisdom are our 2 key ability scores. So dexterity is going to get the 18. Wisdom is going to get a 13. Constitution and strength will also get 13s. And intelligence will get the 11 because it's got a +2 racial bonus, so that'll bump it up to a 13. And then charisma is the 8. That's our dumb stat.
Yep.
All right, so
I want to work the wood.
That's right. He's a man of action, not a man of words.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna click apply ability scores,
and where we go.
So now we have. So now to review. So dexterity was the 18. So it has a +4 modifier, which is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom is the 13, so it's got a +1 modifier.
So that means our armor class is going to be a 15, which is nice, which is about average for a first level character, especially if we were playing a fighter or something like that. Mm-hmm. He would have the armor and the shield, which would bump him up to around 14 or 15 anyway.
Right.
So we're in good shape for that way.
Excellent. So we feel good with our ability scores. So we're going to go on to next. And this is going to be our description. So, and again, I've got way too many extra backgrounds in here. So in the basic rules, there are there's 6.
Hey.
6 backgrounds.
All right.
So why don't you review the backgrounds and I will roll.
So we got 6. We have acolyte, criminal, folk hero, noble, sage, and soldier. Acolyte's kind of like, you're in a temple. You just have some basic background of religion. Criminal, obviously, is a criminal. Folk hero is somebody who's done something relatively popular and helpful in his own society. A noble is, again, quite obvious. Maybe he's the youngest child of a noble family who didn't sit with the rocks. Mm-hmm. A sage is somebody who studies and spent a lot of time by themselves off on their own. And then, a soldier is a soldier. So I think a lot of these could fit, and we could make, and again, I've been saying, this is how you make a backstory.
See, I feel like if you had to pick, I know what I would pick out of these 6. What would you pick?
If I had to pick,
you have to pick.
I have to.
Yes,
I would probably take the noble. Because I would make him the youngest son of a noble family who was, never really paid attention to. And when everybody else was off working with the rock, he was looking at the wood chair and he was, fiddling with the wooden chair or something like that. I think I would either do the noble or the soldier. And after his life in soldiering and he did his term of duty or something like that, and then he decided, you know what, I'm done. These people are obsessed with rocks. I want to go and explore and learn about these trees and this wood thing. Like maybe he's just like an outcast from that spec. That's how I would do it.
Interesting. I would go with the sage background. And again, because we already have the proficiency in history.
Okay.
So this would be somebody that's studied. He's studied martial arts. He's studied woodworking to build his weapons. So I figure like he's a student of the world, has gone out to learn a lot of things. He's learned how to fight with his hands. He's learned how to build with his hands.
Isn't that interesting? Like you're looking at the backstory about how he came to the physical capabilities that he has now, and I'm looking at the backstory of how he was like not accepted or whatever, and he decided to walk out. It's interesting how 2 different people approach the same
exactly.
backstory.
That's what's so fantastic about building these characters.
And you don't even have to do your favorite thing, because after you've made 3 or 4 characters, you stop making all your favorite things and you start making the other things you're interested in.
Right, exactly. So we are going to randomize this again as well and see what we come up with. We've got the 4, which is noble.
A noble.
A noble.
Am I winning again?
Again, Joe, it's not about we. Again, this is like this goes back to one of our original questions. How do I win D&D? There is no winning. It's just different choices. So we are going to choose noble.
All right. So you understand wealth and power. You have a title. Your family has land. You've never really had any discomfort or work. You might be pampered and you might not know anything about it. You get an additional proficiency and the skills. One of them is persuasion. So you're able to talk to people, which is actually probably pretty good, because we're going to need it. We're going to need it because we have very shitty charisma. We only have an 8.
Yes.
And this bonus will give us a +2. So
it'll help offset that -1.
No, the -2.
Is it a -2 at an 8? I thought it was -1.
Maybe it is a -1. Yeah, you're right.
-1.
So it'll offset that minus. So yeah. So anytime you're trying to persuade anybody with something, it'll balance itself out.
At least you're not at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
When you're trying to persuade somebody.
But then we get an extra skill.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Let's roll a D20.
And if it turns out to be higher, so we got animal handling, arcana, athletics, deception, insight, intimidation, investigation, medicine, nature, perception, performance, religion, sleight of hand, stealth, and survival.
3, which is athletics.
Well, hold on. Don't we have athletics already?
I think we already have athletics as a proficiency. So let's
roll it again.
Let's re-roll that. Are there 15 of them? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 13, 14, 15. Survival.
I like that.
Survival. He will survive. I think it's a good one for
and if you've got to think about this, right? Again, here I am building the backstory as a noble. Mm-hmm. He was kicked out by his family, and he had to learn to survive on his own. He had to struggle.
He doesn't have the privilege of being a noble anymore. So.
Right. He has that bearing still, but he doesn't have the advantages of it. So he had to learn how to survive, and that's when he found this monk to help him with his wood.
Interesting.
So now we get to choose another tool. Another tool proficiency, which is a gaming set in this specific case.
A gaming set. Dice. So there's dice, dragon chess, playing cards, or 3 dragon ante.
If we're going to pick something, I say playing cards because of no.
I think we should just roll it.
We should roll it, absolutely. Because the dragon chess would actually work really nicely with the background. Yeah, so D4.
So let's say D4. That'd be 4. So that's 3 dragon ante. All right.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds like fun.
Probably my guess is it's probably like 3-card Monty.
I've never played that.
Have you ever heard of 3-card Monty?
Yes.
Okay. You shouldn't have played it because it's a gimmick. It's a way to steal people's money.
Oh, is that when you turn one up and you say, "Oh,
where's the queen?"
Okay.
It's a hustler's game. It's a way to take your money. So.
Gotcha. All right. So, this is interesting. Then this is really interesting how this guy's developing in a background.
But maybe again he's had to survive on the streets. So this is a way for maybe him to make some money.
Well, he's got high dexterity, so he's got the fast hands.
Yeah. I like it.
And this is how this happens, guys, and girls. This is how your character develops, and the thing is, you do it once or twice, you're not going to be like kicking ideas like this. Oh my goodness!
But again, there's so many extra languages here.
So now we get an extra language as a noble. So let's pick something logical then. So as a halfling, he would be dealing with other races on a normal. As a gnome.
Yes.
As a noble, he would probably be dealing with other races, and as a gnome, he would also be like moving crafts and things that he created.
Mm-hmm.
He already speaks Common, which is the human language.
I would say maybe like elvish,
I was about to say dwarvish.
dwarvish.
Only because dwarves and the gnomes would seem to have a kindred between them.
Okay.
But I could go with elvish
No,
too.
no,
We
no.
can go with something else.
I'm just thinking high society. Like what's like a
Ooh, that's a good point too. Like the dwarves are more workers, but if he's a noble, maybe he's a little snootier.
like that's what I'm.
Or he was.
That's where I was going with it.
I'll go with it. Go with it.
So we're going elvish.
Go elvish.
Okay.
Funny, she doesn't look Druish.
I was gonna start singing like blue suede shoes or you know I'm going that route. Okay, so there's so we got the background feature, position of privilege.
Thanks to your noble birth, people are inclined to think the best of you. You're welcome in high society, but our guy is not going to be that way. People assume that you have the right to be wherever you are. Common folk make every effort to accommodate you and avoid your displeasure. And other people of high birth treat you as the equal in the same social sphere. You can secure an audience with a local noble. Wow, that could be very interesting.
That could be helpful. That could be very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. You walk into a town and nobody's going to believe some vagabond ruffian that he's coming to give him a warning. And he's like, look, man, here's my patent of nobility. Let me talk to your lord because I have information he needs to know.
Right. Interesting. Let's dive into the
Suggested. Okay, so here,
this is where we get into rolling a lot of things. The suggested characteristics for our Rock Gnome monk.
So it suggests to pick 2 of these personality traits, which there's 8. So we'll roll a couple of D8s.
Yes. All right. So let's grab.
So the first one is eloquent flattery makes everyone I talk to feel like the most wonderful, important person in the world. 2, the common folk love me for my kindness and generosity. 3, nobody could doubt by looking at my regal bearing that I am cut above the unwashed masses. 4, I take great pains to always look my best and follow the latest fashions. 5, I don't like to get my hands dirty and I won't be caught dead in unsuitable accommodations. 6, despite my noble birth, I do not place myself above other folk. We all have the same blood. 7, my favor, once lost, is lost forever. And 8, if you do me an injury, I will crush you, ruin your name, and salt your fields.
Ooh,
and again,
like
these things are like we talked about, these background personality traits and stuff like that. This helps you build your backstory and how your character should be portrayed in the role playing.
Yes. Yeah. And again, you don't have to use these. These are just guides as to options for how to build.
So you don't have to come up with your own.
Right. So you don't have to roll to pick them, but again, because we're doing everything random, we are going to roll these and just see where the dice lead us. So I'm going to roll 2 D8s and roll 2 D8s and see what happens. Ooh.
What do you got?
These are really good. 3 and 8. So we got 3, which is no one could doubt by looking at my regal bearing that I am a cut above the unwashed masses. And 8, which is if you do me an injury, I will crush you, ruin your name, and salt your fields.
So think about this. This is a noble who's been ostracized by his family, sent to make his own. He's as a survival. That's where he developed his survival skills. And then when he gets out there, people see him. He looks like he's ragged. He looks like he's a vagabond, but the way that's how he's dressed, but the way he carries himself, he has a regal manner and a regal attitude. And the second somebody treats him subpar, he just beats the crap out of them and he just destroys their wares or whatever. I like that. See, this is all character. This is all how you start.
All right, so we're going to add those 2.
Good.
All right, now ideals. So we've got a whole bunch of ideals for our, there's 6 of them. So there's respect. Respect is due to me because of my position. Responsibility. It is my duty to respect the authority of those above me. Independence. I must prove that I can handle myself without the coddling of my family. Like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Power. If I can attain more power, no one will tell me what to do. And these all have, we're going to talk about alignments. So these have all different alignments associated with them. Family is another ideal. Blood runs thicker than water. And noble obligation is my duty to protect and care for the people beneath me. So some of these are good, some of these are lawful, chaotic, evil. So we're gonna roll the D6 to see.
Yep, 1d6. You only get one of these in this case.
What is our
The independence is a good one, but we're rolling by dice rolls.
Xanros.
Xanros is going to be an ideal.
What's the ideal for Xanros? 3, which is independence. Ooh, again, this is really good. I must prove that I can handle myself without the coddling of my family. This is all rolling this
is coming together really nicely. Well. So here's the idea too now, right? So the alignments that we'll talk about, this one's chaotic, which means it doesn't really tend itself to evil or good. It depends on how you use it. And you'll find that in D&D, the alignments really don't mean much unless you are role-playing and you decide to dive into your role-play.
Indeed. Well, this is exciting. Okay, now on to bonds. So we can choose one, and there's 6 of them. So what are the bonds for Xanros?
So you're going to face the challenge to win the approval of my family. Something else that would fit in, because he's left and he's going to succeed at this. My house's alliance with another noble family must be sustained at all costs. Wouldn't fit in, but we can build a story around it. Nothing is more important than the other members of my family. Would not fit in at all, but we can find him having regret, and that's why he wants to win back into their favor. I mean, you can twist a lot of this. Yes. I am in love with the heir of the family that my family despises. That works out really nicely. My loyalty is to my sovereign is unwavering. That could work, but and the common folk must see me as a hero of the people. Now, this also works is the common folk would look at him like, you're not working with rocks. Why are you? No, you have to see what I can do. I must prove myself. Another option of proving myself.
He's a hero of the people. He's not just a noble. He's not just to be admired because he's a noble, but because of how he can help the people. There's a lot we can do with that. So let's see what this will be interesting. 3, nothing is more important than the other members of my family.
Okay, so now just going off spitting off the top of the head, he's left, but he is not, or she is left, because we said it was going to be a she. Yes. She is left, but she's not homesick. She's resentful of the fact that she felt the need to leave, and now she has to come up with some way to go back to them and prove to them that she is worthy. And as a DM, a person might find a way to input a member of her family into the campaign to create conflict. Now, this person has this independent streak, and he's doing all this, or she's doing all this and that and the other thing. And all of a sudden, somebody kidnapped your brother or your father. And I was like, no, I got to go save them. I mean, yeah, I disagree with them. We hate each other for X, Y, and Z reasons, but they're my family.
Right. Now, on to my favorite part, the flaws.
I keep remembering when we first created your flaws for Fiang was, it wasn't really the flaw. I guess it was one of the personality traits. You were supposed to give a certain percentage of whatever gold was in your pocket away every time you walked into town. That was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And this is where I fall down as a DM in general. I'm a good person to introduce somebody to the game, but I don't get into every single aspect of the game with them. And that's it. I don't dive into those things. I like to, but I just don't have the head for it. Oh, so the flaws. I believe that everyone is beneath me. I hide a truly scandalous secret that could ruin my family. I too often hear veiled threats and insults in every word that talk to me, and I'm quick to anger. I have an insatiable desire for decadent pleasures. In fact, the world does revolve around me, and by my words and actions, I often bring shame to my family.
So I rolled the 6, which is by my words and actions, I often bring shame to my family.
So this particular group of rock gnomes are very heavy into, and she brought the shame by being interested in the wood. Oh, this is a nice contradiction. I mean, this is a short story. I mean, come on, this is like, Now
we have to choose an alignment for for our characters. So we've got chaotic, between chaotic, lawful, and neutral. So there's chaotic, evil, chaotic good, and chaotic neutral. Lawful evil, lawful good, lawful neutral, and neutral, just purely neutral, neutral evil, and neutral good. Should we roll this?
How many of them are there?
There's 9.
Well, hold on. So first, let's do this. A good character is a person who, in general, will do things that are for the betterment of society or the people that they're currently working or dealing with. An evil person, in general, will do what's best for themselves and for their following or whatnot. And a neutral person kind of is more like life happens, let it happen. Now, you got the chaotic, which... Then, I mean, you got the lawful on the one hand where it's like anything I can do, I will do, but as long as it's in the law. And then you have the chaotic that's like, I don't care what the law says. I'm going to do whatever I want that I think is right or I think is wrong. That's the chaotic aspect. And then the neutral concept is like you kind of toe the line between both aspects. So I kind of want to avoid being evil, but that's just in my head. So yeah, roll out a D10 and we'll ignore the 10.
So, well, let's talk about this. We don't necessarily have to roll this one. I would say for everything that we built out about this character, I would probably land somewhere in chaotic good or chaotic neutral. Just based on everything that we've rolled out for this character already.
I'm thinking chaotic neutral myself.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously chaotic. Jordy's playing with my empty water glass, and he's very fascinated by the silverness of it. See? It's from Valley.
It's like toy.
I'm thinking the chaotic because obviously he's not going along with his societal norms, and then the neutral because if he was chaotic good, I think she might decide to try to stay with her family. But I think if it's chaotic neutral, it's like, look, I love you guys, but I got to get out of here. You're not. No, I think chaotic neutral fits.
Because remember the one thing that we've got going on is. If you do me an injury, I will crush you, ruin your name, and salt your fields. So
that would shy away from the idea of making them good.
Yeah, like chaotic neutral, I feel like is like we're good, but if you cross me, I will ruin you.
Yes,
like kind of thing. Okay, so
I like that.
All right, so let's call that. Let's call it chaotic neutral.
You're right. That fits in great.
Let's
come back to the idea of faith another time. Yeah. Because the truth of the matter is, as a rock gnome, they're going to be an artisan. We can look up at a later time what type of gods that the gnomes would have worshipped and stuff like that. We can fill that in later. But that's a lot more deeper dive. I'll be honest with you, unless you are a paladin or a cleric, most people don't really worry too much about the faith aspect.
Right. Yeah, so we can skip that for now. Now, lifestyle, anywhere from wretched to aristocratic.
I think we have to go poor because he wants to be something more. I keep getting that. She wants to be something more than what she can be, but she doesn't have the ability to sustain herself beyond some modest means. But I don't think modest makes sense because she basically has nothing. She left from nothing. So she's starting from nothing. So I think poor, 2 silver pieces versus 1 gold makes more sense.
Yeah, but again, she's doing 3 dragon ante on the street, so she could be making some money for herself. Like, how much money is she making for herself? But like, I think poor. I think modest.
Modest or poor.
Modest or poor. I think modest.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Because again,
I'm not that strongly about poor that I would want to argue the fact. I think modest would work.
A modest lifestyle keeps you out of the slums and ensures that you can maintain your equipment. You live in an older part of town, renting a room in a boarding house, inn, or temple. You don't go hungry or thirsty, and your living conditions are clean, if simple. Ordinary people living modest lifestyles include soldiers with families, laborers, students, priests, hedge wizards, and the like. So I think that's.
I think that fits in fine. Yeah. Do me a favor. Just click on the poor on the
On poor.
On poor. Let's just see what that reads. You go into corridor comforts in a stable community, simple food and lodgings, threadbare clothing, unpredictable conditions result in sufficient, though probably unpleasant experience. Accommodations might be a room, in a flop house or the common room above a tavern. You benefit from some legal protections, but you still have to contend with violence, crime, disease. People at this lifestyle level tend to be unskilled laborers, costmongers, peddlers, thieves, mercenaries, and other disreputable types.
Yeah, like
which I think would still fit with the three dragon ante aspect, because that's kind of dishonest. But I'm good.
I
I'm good with the modest.
I wouldn't call her disreputable. Though.
I'm good with the modest. I'm good with the
Okay,
modest.
so we'll settle on modest.
Okay. Physical characteristics. So hair. Figuring a rock gnome would probably be more or less underground, or at the very least working in the ground a lot. But let's give her like a light brown hair instead of like dark brown or black, because it'll differentiate the fact that, look, she's different. It'll add into the fact that she's different than the rest of her family, who tend to have darker hairs.
Well, let's go to. I'm gonna go back to the information on gnomes to see what their traits are. So we know they're between 3 and 4 feet in height, about 40 pounds. So we know that already. What else?
Yeah, so like, you're accustomed to a life underground. You
Yeah.
know how a lot of time when people spend outside, their hair lightens because of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she escaped from the underground more frequently than her parents really wanted her to.
Mm-hmm.
So she tends to have lighter hair. So like a light brown hair instead of a dark brown or a black hair.
Okay, so we're gonna go hair, light brown. Skin is
Olive?
sure.
Because it wouldn't be dark skin, because she wouldn't, in a darker area like the Drow and the Duergar, which are dark elves and dark dwarves, they tend to have darker skin as well. So she would be somebody who would have somewhat lighter skin because she spent more time trying to go outside.
Okay. What color eyes does a gnome?
Let's say, and I'm just spitballing here, like bright blue.
Bright blue. I like that.
Again, that differentiates her from everybody else.
Okay, we go bright blue. Again, height. Now we know height should be somewhere between 3 and 4 feet. So
roll a d12, and if it's we'll go from 1 inch to 4 foot.
Okay. So that's 3 feet 5 inches.
Boom.
3 feet 5 inches. Okay, now we got the question of age.
So the adulthood by 40, and they live to about 350 to 500.
350 to almost 500 years.
So this
is this? I would assume if our gnome has recently left home, they've probably reached the age of adulthood.
I think
so. They're probably at least 40. Let's roll a d20 and say 40 plus.
Yeah.
15. So 55.
55. So my theory, again, building onto the story aspect of this, is that
Xanros is 55.
She ended up having an issue with her parents as she reached her age of adulthood, and then she moved out and left. Then she spent several years on the street, and then she fell into the good graces of a monk who taught her the woodworking skills that she's always sought and gave her a home. Monks don't tend to have lavish lifestyles. That's why the idea of a modest lifestyle fits into that as well. So like, she's beyond the street slum days that she had,
yes,
but she's has learned not to be that extravagant person.
Right. Okay. So we've got all of this now. We have our Xanros Bimblebumble, the noble rock gnome monk, with woodworker's tools, and so she has light brown hair, olive skin, bright blue eyes. She's 3'5". Weighs 29 pounds, is 55 years old. Personality traits, no one could doubt by looking at their regal bearing that they are a cut above the unwashed masses, and if you do them injury, they will crush you, ruin your name, and salt your fields.
So she still has a little of that arrogance left over in her.
Oh yeah, she will crush you.
Yeah.
She's also independent. Nothing is more important than the other members of her family.
But she still feels the need to prove her own independence of them.
Right.
Because she refused to kowtow to what they wanted.
She can handle herself without the coddling of her family, but her family is still important. And her flaw is that by her words and actions, she often brings shame to the family. So
Thus her woodworking.
that it would also, it's also why she has such a low charisma score. She's always saying the wrong thing.
Well, you know what the thing, again, here feeds into it. She has low charisma, so she constantly talks about woodworking when all the important guests are over, and her parents and her family kind of put up with it. But when these high nobles from the rest of the Rock Gnome society comes in, they don't want to hear about it. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Woodworking is so much more superior than rock working. I mean, like,
This is a pretty fun character.
I think what I'm going to do is, so we're going to come back next week to make our second character. We're not quite done here yet. We're going to come back next week to make our second character. But in the meantime, I'm going to type up a little something for a backstory for her. I'll flip it over to you. You modify it, whatnot. And then when we post this up on the Discord, we'll have the whole thing filled in and they can kind of take a look at everything.
Excellent. So now we have to choose equipment.
Yes.
So equipment or gold?
Equipment, of course.
Equipment.
You can pick the gold and then you can go out and buy specifically what you want, but I like this better. So a short sword or a simple weapon, that's your first choice.
I'm opting for simple weapon.
I agree.
I am going to go the way of being the woodworker. So I would say maybe a club. I love quarterstaff for a martial artist. I think it's a great one.
What about darts? She makes her own darts.
Makes her own darts?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
They're made out of wood.
Right.
And
but they have sharp metal points.
That's okay. Well, they can still be wooden points. There's nothing that says they have to have a metal point.
Okay.
So I was thinking a dart or I was thinking a sling. But I was thinking sling first, but then I saw the dart and I was like, what if she, or the short bow, she makes her own arrows. She lovingly crafted a short bow and then made her own arrows. Oh, I just noticed you got the boomerang there too. I mean,
got a boomerang.
How many are there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So let's roll a D20 and see.
And we'll rule out the obvious ones like a hand axe and a light hammer. We'll probably just rule those out.
I don't even think there are 17.
No, I think you said there are 15 or 16.
Okay, so let's go. No. Come on. Why can't I roll low for a change?
Yeah, right.
Okay, what's a 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A sickle? I don't know how I feel about that.
That doesn't fit what we're thinking here.
8, which would be
the quarterstaff. Done.
All right. Quarterstaff.
I think you actually get 10 darts automatically, I just noticed, so we're good anyway.
Excellent. I would probably say an explorer's pack.
I was actually going to say an engineer's pack.
Really?
Because she's coming from the underground. This is what she knows.
Okay, that makes sense. I could see that. So let's do the dungeoneer's pack.
So that includes a backpack, crowbar, hammer, 10 pistons, 10 torches, tinderbox, 10 days of rations, and a water skin, 50 foot of rope, strapped to the side of it. Explorer's pack is bedroll, mess kit, tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 rations. A water skin has 50 foot. I want to say dungeoneering, but I'm thinking that now that she's out and she's on her own, I think the Explorer pack makes more sense.
That's what I was leaning towards. Okay, fine.
So she has the 10 darts.
Yes.
As a noble, she gets starting equipment, starting with.
Ooh, what do we got? A set of fine clothes, a signet ring.
So these are going to be things that she probably doesn't wear normally. She probably has to have a pouch or a packet that she takes with her everywhere, which has what I was talking about before, that scroll of pedigree.
Right.
And then she has an extra 25 gold pieces. Maybe she doesn't have 25 gold pieces. Maybe she has a family heirloom, a minor one, but something she took from home because she values her family so much. Maybe it's a family crest or something like that that's worth 25 gold pieces.
We can uncheck a purse containing 25 gold pieces.
Well, I still like the idea of her taking this, like family
Okay.
crest, because then it's like there's that attachment. My family is still very important to me.
All right, so we'll add that starting equipment.
Yep. Boom.
All right. Any other? So we got the
Yeah, that's just the other possessions.
possessions, items.
We can add anything individually now if we had a choice. We had anything specific that we wanted to add.
I don't think we need to add anything at this point. Yeah, we're trying to keep this simple. So
Right.
we're not going to add anything additional at this point.
Right, and we're going to change that currency from 25 gold into a family heirloom, but we'll do
we can
that.
we can do that under possessions. Can't we? Can't?
yeah,
that's
yeah.
only we can only edit that one possession. Can we? We can't add.
No, I think
I guess
possessions is just one long box.
Yeah. So let's call it a family. If I can spell
Family crest. Heirloom.
family heirloom. That's worth
25.
25, and we're gonna take that down to 0 gold pieces.
Right.
Okay.
Good.
Excellent. So we've got all of that. We've got all the inventory. We've got all the equipment, and that's our character.
So now
That's Xanros.
that's Zenros. Now we have to come up with a picture for her, which we'll dig into a little bit later.
Yes.
And we will put this all up on the Discord once we have everything completed. Now you have the options. You can export it to a PDF so you can print it out for your in-person game, or you can actually view the character sheet on D&D Beyond. We're pretty much done here making the character aside from this imaging and the backstory. And this is it. I mean, yeah, it took us 2 hours almost to go through the whole thing, but it goes a lot faster when you're working by yourself. And then obviously the backstory creates a whole new process.
So now we've got our character minus a full backstory and that, but we really have a pretty well fleshed out character here, which I wasn't sure where it was going to go in the beginning, but this is a pretty cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Cool character.
I'm liking this.
Yeah.
And I was like, especially like when we both said, "Oh, Rock Gnome," like neither of us have ever done it. And now we're like, and half of this is your backstory, in my opinion. Half of your backstory creates so much more enjoyment out of it.
Indeed. All right. So we've got our first character. So this is our weapon wielder character. Next episode, we're going to create the spellcaster.
So, like we were saying, that's everything. Now your character's created, except like you were saying, Andrew, the backstory,
right?
Which I'm going to work on. You're going to work on the imaging. We'll swap things out. You give me a couple options for imaging. I'll give you the backstory. We'll tweak, and then as soon as we can, probably sometime middle of this week, maybe closer to the end, we'll post it up on the Discord.
Yes, indeed.
Next time, like I think you were saying, and I had interrupted you, we'll come back and create our magical character.
Yes, looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
I'm. It's funny. Like I could go either way on whether it's like a fighter, like a weapon wielder, or a spellcaster. Like they both have different things that appeal to me.
Agreed.
I like the spellcaster because you can cast different spells.
It's customizable.
Yeah, it gives you some flexibility as far as that's concerned. So that's the nice thing about that. But we will do that next episode. Then we will probably take a break, and because we got the holidays coming up, and then we will come back after we create our two characters with our live play and play those two characters and have some fun with those, so you can see what they actually look like in real life play.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you for joining us. We will catch you next episode.
Have a great one.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Legends, Loot, and Lore. We hope you've enjoyed immersing yourself in the realms of legends, uncovering hidden loot, and delving into captivating lore. But the journey doesn't end here. For exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and access to our community, visit legendslootandlore.supercast.com. There you'll be able to support the podcast, where you can join our Discord server for lively discussions and subscriber-only content, and connect with fellow enthusiasts. Stay connected with us on Instagram and Facebook at Legends, Loot, and Lore to continue on the quest. By following our social media channels, you'll be the first to know about upcoming episodes, bonus content, and exciting announcements. If you've enjoyed your time with us, we kindly ask you to rate and subscribe to this podcast. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue producing captivating episodes and embarking on new quests. Thank you for being a part of our journey. We're thrilled to have you by our side as we unravel the legends, uncover the loot, and delve deeper into the lore. Until next time.